As anyone who is familiar with my channel probably knows, I love AxelBeats. Hell, it's right there in the channel name. The show is far from perfect and some aspects are rushed, some don't get fleshed out as much as you might like, and there are obtrusive bits of cheesy and over-the-top comedy that feels completely out of place sometimes. But it's a show that's filled with heart, and it's a show that oozes character. It's not the best anime I've ever seen, but it is my favorite. Which is why, when I saw that Jun Maeda had made another series, and that it had already been released, I was incredibly excited to sit down and watch it. The Day I Became a God, much like the previous series created by Jun Maeda, is flawed. It has rough edges, and sometimes it's just silly in hopes of being funny. But despite that, it's a series that discusses the joys of life and its hopelessness, what it means to have family, be they blood or chosen, and what it means to lose someone you care about, moving beyond a tragedy or being trapped in your past. This series is not perfect, but I loved it all the same, and in the spirit of this beautiful and tragic story, I want to start the video by asking a simple question. What would you do if I told you the world would end in 30 days? It's kind of a silly question, and if you ever hear someone ask this, or something like it, it's almost always used as an icebreaker or in a game-like way. It's an interesting way to learn what's most important to someone else, as well as learning what isn't important to them. People might say they'd quit going to school. After all, if there's no world in a month, why bother getting a degree? Others might say they want to travel. I myself would love to go to Peru and visit Machu Picchu, but right now I can't afford it. But again, if the world's ending, just put it on my card. Would you want to do something exciting or dangerous like skydiving or climbing Everest? Would you call your dad and make up? Would you tell the girl that you love how you feel? Would any of that even matter? The Day I Became a God opens with a girl introducing herself to our protagonist, Yota, and explaining that she is an all-knowing god named Odin. And even more pressing is that she says the world will end in 30 days. At first, Yota obviously disregards this. Which, I'm not gonna lie, if a 10-year-old came up to me, dressed as a nun, talking like Queen Victoria and spouting off about how the end times are coming, I'd probably just think she was nuts. But very quickly it becomes apparent that at least on some level, this girl is special. Yota needs to go visit his friend Izanami in the first episode, and Odin, whose real name is Hina, decides to tag along. Despite it being a sunny day, she stops to buy an umbrella, only for it to begin downpouring. She tells him that taking the bus would be slower than walking, only for them to pass the bus as it gets locked in traffic. She even manages to guess the exact order that a group of horses would finish a race in, which is around the time that I personally would begin questioning if she was really crazy, or if she was actually some kind of deity. At the very least, she seems to be able to tell the future, which just maybe means that the world might really end in 30 days. The first episode also has Hina asking Yota to make a wish that she could grant, and he wishes for Izanami to go on a date with him. And this kind of sets the course for what would be the first bit of the story. We quickly shift away from the idea of the end of the world and into making the most of what's left of summer break. Yota tries to ask Izanami out, Hina plays all the games that she could hope for, and along the way they start being introduced to secondary characters who they try to help out as best they can. If I had one complaint about the show, it would likely be that despite having a decent-sized cast, we never really get to flesh out too many characters. This could have been because of time constraints, since the series is only 12 episodes long, but the only two that I feel like we really got to know and focus on beyond their introduction are Izanami and Hina. Two characters who are much more connected to the darker side of family themes than we might have expected in this story. What would you do if I told you the world was ending in 15 days? How do you deal with the loss of someone you love? One of the core themes explored in the series is loss. Specifically, we first saw this with Izanami's parents. Her mother had passed away about a decade ago, and in that time, her father went into a spiraling depression, barely leaving the house and essentially becoming a shut-in. The episode focuses on his story, and in my opinion, it's easily one of the most beautiful and impactful episodes in the entire series. When is it okay to move on after losing someone? Are you just supposed to forget about them and do what you can to be happy going forward? Or does doing that make you selfish? Does trying to move on mean that you don't care? That you never cared? Seeing Izanami's father struggle with those questions was probably the most human moment that the show had to offer. You see how tired and deflated he is, and when Yota and Hina manage to get him out of the house, he's excited by some of the most mundane things. The world had been progressing around him while he was locking himself in the past, and it's not until he and Izanami watch the videotapes left behind by his late wife that he and his daughter are actually able to move forward. For her part, his wife's messages were all about wanting them both to forget her and start taking steps to be happy again. She wants them to move forward, and why wouldn't she? No one would hope that the people they cared about would stay unhappy forever. But that does bring up the interesting divide here. Those who pass typically want the living to progress, but those who live grasp at their memories and feel guilty for ever attempting to let them go. It's a really interesting position as well when it comes to a wife or a husband passing, or even a father or a mother for a younger child. For example, if my brother was to pass away, that's kinda it. There's no real moving forward from it or finding a new brother. Sure, I'll be able to be happy again at some point, but that gap in my life will never really be filled. If I was to lose a wife, it's tragic, but at some point I'm expected to move forward, right? At some point it's natural to remarry. Even if I lost a mother when I was a young child, if my father remarried, it might not be the same, but someone would step in to take care of me in a similar way. But when does any of that become okay? These are the kinds of questions facing both Izanami and her father. Framed within the themes of the show as well, what does this all mean when there are only 30 days left? Is it even worth trying to move on in that time? This next section is one that has a couple bigger spoilers within the series, so if you haven't seen the show, I'm going to put a timestamp on screen. Please jump there if you'd like to avoid those. About 2/3 of the way into the series, we come across Hina's father, Toshitoku, and we learn the truth about Hina. She was born with Logos syndrome, a disease that deteriorates the body and brain of its host until there is nothing left. Effectively a combination between Alzheimer's and cerebral palsy. It's heartbreaking to even think about. Hina would be unable to move from her hospital bed, nor would she be able to respond when spoken to. This pushed her father to the edge of sanity, and even led her mother to ending her own life. This is something that I've mentioned a few times in streams or videos, but my grandpa has Alzheimer's. And while not the same disease, it is one that still deteriorates the brain in a similar way, and just seeing that can be brutal. There are some days where you go to see him and he doesn't even recognize you, and that might be why I'm able to sympathize with Hina's father. It's rough when you see it happening to a grandparent, and I genuinely couldn't begin to even imagine what it would be like if it was happening to a child, let alone to my child. Devastating and heartbreaking might be the only words for it, but I doubt they would even begin to do it justice. I can't say that I agree with Hina's father's decision to abandon her, but I do understand it. Just as I wouldn't judge her mother for ending her own life, I think it's kinda hard to say that it's any different from him hitting rock bottom and choosing to start a new life with a new family. In both cases, the end result is that they're leaving her behind after going through a personal hell. But I do think that in the public eye at least, one of these is seen as being a sympathetic tragedy, while the other is just selfish. However, I really do think that both might apply in each situation. Neither are easy decisions to make, and both result in a daughter being left alone. Yota understandably can't get behind the actions of Hina's father, but we're told that as a child he can't really be expected to understand the pain that Toshitoku had experienced, having to watch his daughter quite literally waste away in front of him as he was able to do nothing to help. Nor can he understand the guilt that this father would now be facing looking at a healthy Hina. The idea of making that incredibly difficult and admittedly selfish choice to move forward with your own life, only to see that the girl you abandoned ended up fine anyways, is brutal to think about. Yota pushes back and asks how he could just give up on his daughter without really knowing her, and Toshitoku just responds that Yota is right. He didn't really get to know her because Hina couldn't communicate and could barely move. He continues on saying that he couldn't help her, and that he made the decision to try and find his own happiness in life rather than end it like his wife did, asking Yota if he could understand the weight of that decision and living with the consequences of it. The conversation ultimately ends with a warning and advice for Yota. Toshitoku tells him that although Yota doesn't get it now, he may come face to face with that reality one day in the future. He also tells him that a miracle shines brightly for a moment, but then everything returns to mundane logic. Even if Hina appears fine, there is no cure for Logos syndrome, and it will all come crashing down at some point. The line that miracles shine brightly for a moment is probably my favorite line that The Day I Became a God has to offer. The warning that nothing gold can stay, and no matter how beautiful or miraculous a moment might be, things will return to normalcy eventually. But at the same time, it can also be said that any low point in your life will return to balance as well. These are easily two of the best episodes, and each just offers such an interesting look at the ideas of family, loss, moving on, and being trapped in the past. What would you do if I told you the world was ending tomorrow? One of the things a lot of people jump to when you first ask them what they might do if the world was ending is either calling their loved ones or professing their love to whoever they might be interested in. And I think love is, on paper, probably the right thing to do in this situation. Personally, though, I think if I had just one day left, I might be hard-pressed not to spend it with my mom and my siblings. But I'm not sure if I'd be out there confessing my love to any girl that I'm into. This might be a bit pessimistic, but I think that's just because I don't think it would be the most important thing in the world. It isn't really like it would change anything anyways. At the end of the day, quite literally, the world is ending. Me confessing my love won't lead to a life together. Hell, we'd barely have time for a single date. So I'm not sure that making that decision would be worth losing time with my family. And I think that this is also the perspective that The Day I Became a God presents as well, in some ways at least. The opening arc is all about Yota trying to ask Izanami on a date. He gets rejected, keeps trying to do these grandiose things to win her over, but in each case, he stops himself from asking her out again. There are even perfect moments like when she runs to his house after he led the closure that she and her father needed, and there's just love glowing in her eyes, but he opts not to follow through. This is something that Hina and many of the viewers might chastise him for, but I think that would have cheapened the episode overall. As it stood, he was helping his childhood friend move past the loss of her mother and learn to smile again, which is such a beautiful and heartfelt thing. But listen to that sentence again in this light. He was helping his childhood friend move past the loss of her mother and learn to smile again so that she would date him. It changes this altruistic moment of pure good to one kind of tainted by ulterior motives. And from this moment, the entire intention of the series shifts as well. We aren't trying to help Yota and Izanami date anymore, we're just trying to make the most out of our time that we have left with our friends and family, and doing what we can to help those important to us, to make them smile. Realistically, if the world was going to end soon, I don't think I'd be going to see Machu Picchu, and if I did, I don't think it would make a huge difference for me. Sure, it would be cool. But what does it really mean at that point if I'm doing it alone? Skydiving would be an amazing experience, but who am I going to tell that story to once everything's over? I think if the world was coming to an end, making memories kind of becomes a moot point. However, making moments which light up the lives of those around you, that excite them, make them smile, or set them free, those are the things that I think I would want to do with my last bit of time on the clock. Obviously, much of the series comes down to the idea of Yota not knowing whether to believe in the end of the world or not, but in that discussion, we come to this core message behind the show. Regardless of if it's true that the world is ending, you should live your life like it is. Don't hesitate to tell the people that you love how you feel. Don't wait to travel or to do the things that you would like to experience. And most importantly, take every opportunity to help those around you. We might only be here for a moment, but that doesn't mean we can't be each other's miracles. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you all stay Axel. What would you do if there were only 30 days left on Earth?
I mean, I can be genuine. Is that cool? Can I be genuine? All right. I know what I would do. So if I only had 30 days left, what I would do is I would go just annoy my significant other for 30 days until we die. I feel like there's not too many places I need to go other than just like going to where they are, basically. But there's nowhere in the world I really need to see. I feel like I've already tried most things I would want to try. That's what I would do. Pretty straightforward, but I'm a romantic at heart. So you know what? I'm gonna give every single romantic bone in my body until I don't have a body, because we're all gonna die in 30 days. Yeah, that's what I would do, genuinely.
30 days left? Man, if I had 30 days left, I think I would just like make a list of all the ridiculous things that I never thought I could achieve, and then just grab like my favorite people in the world and try to go get as much as that list done possible in the last 30 days. And I think it'd be a mix of like service to myself and service to other people. So if I could do something to make like somebody else's day or to help them, even if it's something as simple as like helping out in old people like cross the street or something, like mixing it, sort of do a mix and match. Like one day I do something crazy for myself, say it's like skydiving or something, and then the next day I am helping somebody else out with some type of struggle or trouble that they have, and sort of alternate that for the last 30 days.
Then I would spend time with family and practice Zazen, Zen meditation, very thoroughly in order to attain enlightenment before the 30 days are up. I think that I know that's going to be a weird answer to people, but it's something you have to experience. It's not something you can rationally explain.
Oh, darn. This is a very hard question to answer when you first wake up in the morning. I mean, like, I feel like there's a lot of things that I want to do, right? Like, for one, maybe eat my last piece of shawarma, maybe talk to Barack Obama finally, or maybe shake, I don't know, the president's hand. Who knows? I think ultimately the one thing that it comes down to when I really, really think about it is I'd probably just want to, like, you know, spend those 30 days with, like, I don't know, someone that I really cared about. But I feel like that's a generic response, right? I feel like most people will just want to sit there and just spend that time with either family or a loved one or your spouse or something. I have neither of those things. I mean, I do have family. Who doesn't have family? But like maybe I'd finally get a dog, a husky, and then yeah, just spend 30 days with my husky, just traveling across the country and seeing cool sights.
I don't know. I'd probably cry because I've never seen the end of Komi-san. Probably cry because I've never seen the end of Nagatoro, and I probably just go to the bar and cry more there. But you know, that's just normally what I do on a Thursday night.
I don't know.
Oh Jesus. Okay. So here's first thing. Obviously not going to college anymore. Going to go ahead and drop that. No more college. Second thing that I am going to drop is all of those people. You know, all those people that you talk to, but you don't really want to, but you're just talking to them to be nice. Those people are out of my life now. Thirdly, it's time to start an aggressive addiction because I only have 30 days left, and I'm really about every single fucking day that there is left, because that just sounds like it'd be like the best reality. And then also on top of all of the things that I just said, I'm going to be streaming to all of the people that I stream to, telling them that the end of the world is coming up, and they're not going to believe me, but at least I will be able to say that I did tell them, even though I was and they probably just thought it was like a heroin dream. But yeah, that's gonna be mine.
If I knew I could do anything, right? There's like really no consequences. Okay. It's probably a few people I would kill. I'll probably go and try to like kill a couple people that I feel like really need to just be gone. And I know that the world's ending, but I want to do it myself because I feel like some people, bro, it don't deserve a real quick death like that, bro. They need to be tortured, bro. There's some terrible people in this world, and I feel like I would make it my vigilante mission for that month to become like the Punisher, like, and I would go and find these people, and then I would make sure that they died like terrible deaths. So, you know, like rapists, like really bad, vile people. Like I would go and try to like make their like last days terrible. That would be my mission. That's what I would do. You know, also just the regular stuff, you know, spend time with family, things like that, of course. But that would be the wild thing I did.